Last week I went out to see a head teacher and she was clearly frustrated. She was frustrated because the school has a need for a permanent member of staff to work in its SEN provision. It's supporting students with autism, so sensory issues, but they're all pre-verbal as well. So the school has a very clear idea on what it is that they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who can commit to the permanent role, somebody with relevant SEN experience, but also somebody who ideally has classroom-based experience as well. So she spoke to a couple of head teachers in the same consortium as the school, and they recommended that she tries out an agency. So she made a few calls, had a few conversations, went through the role in detail, so what they were looking for, what they weren't looking for, the role, the responsibilities, the expectations, all of that kind of thing. And in her mind, it was very, very clear on the type of person that she was looking for. Now, one of the agencies in particular said, yeah, definitely got somebody, loads of really good options for this. And he said, look, rather than sending a bunch of CVs across, let's book them in for a chat. You know, we'll book a day, book a morning, and we'll have them across. If things look good, we'll maybe invite them back for a free trial in the class so you can really see how things are and what the fit's like. So things were looking good. Now, the problems occurred on the day of the trial or the day of the interviews, because when they got there, the people they'd sent clearly weren't the right fit for the role. So we had one of them had SEN experience, but it was for students who were 16 to 19, so very, very different to earliest key stage 1. Somebody else wasn't interested in a permanent role. They had plans to go travelling perhaps in the summer. They weren't going to be able to commit longer term or beyond this current school year. And the third person just wasn't interested in supporting students with additional needs at all. They were looking for a role as a teaching assistant, but they weren't so keen on supporting students with additional needs like autism or sensory challenges or anything like that. So again, none of them were suitable. So the head teacher fed this back to the agency, and in the meantime, she reached out to us. So she sent me an email, explained the situation and just said, look, can we have a chat? Let's just see who you've got, and then we'll kind of go from there. She then invited me in to come and see the setting. It's always useful for us to get an idea of, one, what the place is like where our candidates will be working, but also to get an idea of what the current culture is like, and also who's currently doing particularly well in the school, because that gives us an idea of the type of person that we should be looking for as well. We want to keep that consistency in the culture and the approach that the school already has. So I went across, and this was just the following day. Now, in the time from the initial email to the time I visited, the head teacher, the reason she was so frustrated was because she said, look, Dave, I can't believe it's happened again. They sent another CV across, but this time it's somebody, again, no experience at all in what we're looking for. And this can be a problem. I think sometimes what happens is agencies are so desperate to help fill the role, and they think that they're being helpful by putting forward these options, but actually it's a bit of a waste of everybody's time. The head teacher is very specific and very clear on what they're looking for, and the expectation is that you're at least getting close to what they're after. The other thing is that we have to remember is if you're putting your teaching assistants in that position, it's embarrassing for them. Imagine if you had to sit there in an interview, essentially, to discuss a role that you're not actually that interested in going for. It's a waste of their time, it's embarrassing, it prevents them from working elsewhere, so they lose a day's pay, and ultimately it's not a good look on the agency either. Sometimes it's better to say you haven't got anybody that can help rather than pretending that you've got all of these options. You may have options, but having options and having the right option are two very, very different things. What schools are looking for and what the students who need that additional support are looking for is somebody that can stick around long enough to make a meaningful difference, ideally has a bit of experience, but also has that passion for that type of role. At times, it's not going to be the easiest role in the world. You can have other days which are absolutely brilliant, but to level it all out, you need to have that passion, that desire to want to do well in that role. Without that, you're always going to struggle.